Hello there, I'm Black Bright News, and yesterday's headlines was this: 1,000 abuse victims safer. And because back in the day when I was a youngster, I was an abuse victim, this topic is very close to my heart, and it makes me wonder. I look at it with such skepticism these days, because, you wonder if it's a checklist and you wonder how safe you're really going to be. This one, well, I don't want to give my private opinion on it. Number one, you don't have to, if you're a victim, you don't have to issue the deportation. You don't have to issue or ask for the Domestic Abuse Protection Order, which is what it's called, DAPO. The police can determine, or the courts can determine, whether or not a DAPO is issued. And the difference between this and maybe an order, against harassment or a restraining order, is that these ones carry penalties. You can spend up to 5 years in jail. And normally, the reason why victims don't report abuse is because they're afraid of the repercussions. They don't want their partner to go to jail. Even though they're beating them up like a pulp, they still want to protect their abusers. And so this protection order doesn't give them much of a say. From the perpetrator starts beating on the woman or the male, and the police get wind of it, they can take that perpetrator and issue a DAPO. This is in a nutshell. And that person would go to court, and they have to abide by a lot of rules. And it's almost like being on probation. They could even be tagged. So it's not going to be an easy road for the perpetrator, and there are so many of them these days. The frustration of post-COVID, the frustration of not having jobs, the access to jobs, the access to having more drugs and alcohol is just causing a lot of mental issues. So, lest I digress, let me read my notes. So, the Domestic Abuse Protection Orders, DAPOs, how different are they from other protection orders, e.g. restraining orders, that don't seem to work? A simple guide for anyone experiencing domestic abuse. So I've already shown you the headlines, which is meant to protect female victims of domestic violence. I don't know why it's not there to protect male victims, because, there's a lot of them. Anyway, according to the Office of National Statistics, approximately 3.8 million aged 16 plus experienced domestic abuse in the UK between the 1st of April 2024 and the 31st of March 2025. For teenagers aged 16 to 19, the rate is higher. 18.7% of 16 to 19-year-olds reported experiencing domestic abuse in the year April 2023 to March 2024. Women 16 plus, 2.3 million are estimated to have experienced domestic abuse in the last year, and men aged 16 plus, 1.5 million are estimated to have experienced domestic abuse in the last year. And what I found horrifying, the amount of domestic abuse in same-sex relationship is astonishing. Anyway, Domestic Abuse Protection Orders, DAPOs, are a new type of protection designed to keep victims safe from domestic abuse. They can be made quickly by the police or courts, and you do not require to agree or go to the court yourself. However, they're only as good as those who report the abuse, of course. Unlike previous protection orders, DAPOs promise action and protection. A huge number of victims stay silent because they don't want to incriminate anyone, fear of dishonouring the family, embarrassment, fear of appearing disloyal, fear of repercussions if the abusers are released from police custody just hours after being arrested, confusion, emotional turmoil, where victims love their abuser and hoping that he or she will change. There are situations where there's financial control, coercive control, visa instability or manipulation. Afraid they might lose care of their children is a big one. And these are situations which may feel like reporting is impossible. But like I say, with this particular order, you don't have a say. If you're too scared to report, these are a few proposals on how to stay safe while you figure things out. First, it's normal to feel scared. I've been there when I was in my teens, in my early 20s. I stayed quiet because I was afraid of getting hurt even more, getting someone I cared for into trouble, losing somewhere to live, wondering how family and friends would judge me. I also had an abuser who kept guilt-tripping me, crying, apologising and promising to change. This fear didn't mean I was weak, it meant I was surviving the best way I knew how. In the end, I scarpered to the States. Even if you're too scared to report it to the police, tell someone who you think will empathise with you and understand. You don't have to start with the police. Just by telling one safe person breaks the isolation the abusers rely on. Did you know that you are in danger? That if you are in danger, a silent solution is to call 999 and press 55 and the police will locate you. I've never done it, but it's reassuring to know. A lot of victims of abuse anticipate when it is going to happen. They sense the vibes of the perpetrator. It is at this point you use a silent solution, as you may not have an opportunity afterwards. The first thing the perpetrator tends to take is the phone and break it or throw it out of your reach. There are also live chat options, no phone needed, women's aid, refuge, text safety chat, the mix, childline chat, victim support. These don't require you talking out loud or leaving home. If the abuser tells you not to report, this is a control tactic. It is self-serving and not love. But let me get on to the DAPOs. What can a DAPO do for you? It can stop the abuser from contacting you, calls, messages, social media. It can stop them from coming to your home, workplace, or a safe address. Create exclusion zones around important areas, that are important to you. Require them to attend behaviour change programs. Make them hand over weapons or dangerous items. Require check-ins or monitoring to reduce risk. A breach of a DAPO is a criminal offence, meaning the police can arrest immediately. And I think what most victims' concern is, yes, they arrest them, but they let them out on lack of evidence. And that's what victims are worried about. So who can apply? Police without your agreement, courts during criminal, civil or family cases, you with or without a solicitor, support case services with permission from the court. You do not have to make the application yourself. You do not need to be physically injured. Domestic abuse includes emotional abuse, coercive control, sexual abuse, threats and intimidation, and economic abuse. If you feel frightened and controlled or unsafe, you can be protected. What evidence is used? A court or police force may look at police reports or 999 calls, messages, emails, social media activity, witness accounts, health and safeguarding referrals, Claire's law disclosures. But you don't have, supposedly if you don't have the evidence, you can just have diary journals and anything, photographs, anything that you've kept to show that you were injured. What happens if someone breaches a DAPO? Breach of a DAPO is a criminal offence. Like I said, it's not a warning. It's not a slap on the wrist. It carries up to 5 years in prison. That's the same level of consequence as breaching a non-molestation order or restraining order, but with DAPOs, the courts are expected to take breaches more seriously because the whole system focuses on risk management and behaviour change. What are the actual consequences? If someone breaks any part of the DAPO, the police can immediately arrest them. The court can give them a criminal conviction, impose immediate imprisonment, add stricter conditions, extend the order, or enforce the positive requirements more tightly. This is different from the old civil harassment injunctions, where breach can be treated as contempt, civil not criminal. With a DAPO, it goes straight into the criminal system. There are, of course, no absolute absolute guarantees. Some offenders breach anything, restraining orders, bail conditions, injunctions, because they do not respect the law. But DAPOs are designed to reduce risk, not eliminate it.